Friends, today I am going to narrate a wonderful story to you with great care. After listening to this story, you will let go of excessive thinking, fear, and worries, and your heart will be filled with joy and contentment. So, let's begin. Today's story. Once upon a time in a certain city, there lived a young man. He was extremely sad and deeply disheartened. He couldn't understand why everyone in this world seemed to live only for their own selfish motives. Everywhere he looked, he saw nothing but self-interest. He constantly thought that no one loved him, no one cared for him, and everyone only maintained relationships with him for their own benefit. As soon as their needs were met, they distanced themselves from him. Friends, something similar happens in our lives too. We're always searching for someone's companionship, and when we don't find it, we feel lonely and weak. We start to believe that there's no one like us in this world, that no one loves us or cares for us. But we forget that in the end, everyone has to walk alone. This young man was so troubled by his loneliness that one day he left his home and set out on a journey. Lost in his thoughts, he kept walking along a path. As he walked, he came across an ashram. He moved toward it and saw a teacher teaching his disciples how to meditate. Among them, one disciple asked the teacher, "O teacher, what is meditation, and what benefits do we gain from it?" The teacher replied, "My child, meditation is the truth. Meditation makes us alone. The more alone we become, the deeper we go into meditation. This very aloneness leads you to the path of truth and helps you attain it." The young man, standing outside the ashram, overheard this conversation. As soon as he heard the teacher's words, he rushed to the teacher and said, "O teacher, if meditation makes us alone, then I must be the best at it. You take the help of meditation to become alone, but I am already alone. I have no one I can call my own, no one who cares for me or looks after me. I am walking this path all by myself." Hearing the young man's words, the teacher looked at him intently and said, "My son, if you are alone, then why are you carrying your entire family, friends, enemies and relatives with you? Where are you going with them?" The young man was startled by the teacher's words. He immediately turned around to look behind him, but there was no one there. He said to the teacher, "O teacher, there's no one behind me, no family, no friends, no enemies, no relatives. I left them all behind because no one cares for me, no one looks after me, no one even wants to hear my voice. But whenever someone faces a problem, they suddenly remember me. Otherwise, they don't even care whether I'm alive or not. None of these things matter to them." The teacher listened to the young man's words carefully and then said, "My son, you are right, but as long as you haven't let go of all these people, how can you truly be alone?" The young man, surprised again, looked back and said, "O teacher, there's no one here. I came here alone. It feels like you're mocking me. There's no one behind me, as you can see, so why do you keep saying, 'Let them go'? When there's no one with me, who am I supposed to let go of, and how?" The teacher smiled at the young man's words and said, "My son, what exactly do you want from me?" The young man replied, "O teacher, I want to become your disciple. I need a companion. Please accept me as your disciple. I will be forever grateful to you." Hearing this, the teacher said, "My son, you may stay here for 1 month. After that I will decide whether to accept you as my disciple or not. But you must follow one condition. During these 30 days, you must practice meditation. If you can do this, you may stay here for the next month. Otherwise, there is no place for you here." After much thought, the young man said, "O teacher, I will do as you say. If you want me to practice meditation for these 30 days, I am ready to do so." He agreed to the teacher's condition and stayed at the ashram. The next morning, the teacher came to the young man and said, "My son, who are you talking to? Where is your focus?" The young man replied, "O teacher, there's no one with me. Who would I be talking to? I am alone." The teacher said, Very well, but now focus on meditation because you promised to practice it for these 30 days. Following the teacher's instruction, the young man sat down to meditate. However, on the first day, he faced many difficulties. He couldn't sit still for long. His legs felt numb, as if they had stopped functioning. The teacher observed all of this and said, "My son, sit for as long as you feel comfortable. It's not necessary to sit continuously. If you feel discomfort, you can get up, walk around, and then sit again." With that, the teacher left. The next morning, the teacher returned and said, "My son, who is here? Who are you talking to? Has someone come?" The young man replied, "Oh, teacher, there's no one here. You can see for yourself. Who would I be talking to?" The teacher said, "All right, now practice meditation." The young man then asked, "Oh, teacher, is closing one's eyes and sitting still what you call meditation?" "If that's the case, it's very easy. Anyone can do it. Just close their eyes and sit." The teacher replied, "My son, simply closing your eyes and sitting is not meditation. To meditate, you must focus your mind on one thing. It could be any sound from outside or the sound of your breath going in and out. You can focus on anything that is happening continuously in the present moment, so your attention remains fixed on it and doesn't wander. And remember, when you focus on that thing, your attention must not waver." With that, the teacher left. The next morning, when the teacher returned, he said, "My son, who's here today? Who are you talking to so loudly? You came here to find peace, or are you here to disturb others?" The young man said, "Oh, teacher, there's no one here. How could I be talking to anyone? I haven't even uttered a single word, so how could you hear loud voices? And if I haven't spoken, how could I be causing disturbance to others?" The teacher said, all right, now practice meditation." The young man then said, "Oh, teacher, I have a question. May I ask it?" The teacher replied, "Yes, ask what you want." The young man said, "Oh, teacher, you say to focus on something happening in the present moment. But when I try to focus on my breath or something, my mind keeps wandering. Sometimes I remember one thing, sometimes another. Old memories keep haunting me. After you left yesterday, I tried hard to meditate, but those old memories kept coming back, and I couldn't focus on one thing. What should I do now?" Hearing this, the teacher smiled and left without saying anything. The young man couldn't understand why the teacher laughed. The next morning, the teacher came again and said, "My son, what are you doing? There's so much laziness around you. Drive this laziness away, or it will overpower you and you'll remain under its control forever." The young man said, "Oh, teacher, you keep saying the same thing every day, that there's someone here, but I don't see anyone. Please tell me, who is here?" The teacher replied, "All right, let's go practice meditation." The young man said, "Oh, teacher, I have a question. May I ask it?" The teacher said, "Yes, ask your question." The young man said, "Oh, teacher, thanks to your guidance, I can now meditate better than before. But I still face a problem. When I focus on my breath, my mind becomes focused and I can meditate better. But while meditating, I start feeling sleepy and fall asleep. After that, I can't meditate anymore. I just keep feeling sleepy. I can't bring myself back to meditation." The teacher replied, "That's a good thing," and left. On the 5th day, the teacher came in the morning and said, "My son, why have you called so many people here? They won't let you meditate. Why have you brought so many people? Send them away immediately. I don't like this at all. You said you came here alone, so why have you gathered such a crowd today? Send them away right now." The young man thought to himself, "It seems the teacher has gone mad. Every day he says the same thing, that there's someone here, but I don't see anyone." Politely he said, "Oh, teacher, perhaps your eyes see something I cannot. I don't see anyone here, so how can you see so many people?" The teacher said, "All right, let's practice meditation." The young man said, "Oh, teacher, I used to fall asleep during meditation, as I told you, and I've controlled that. But now, when I sit to meditate and focus on one thing, a flood of thoughts overwhelms me. It's like a deluge of thoughts. I've never had so many thoughts with my eyes open as I do when I close them. Some thoughts come to my mind that I've never even thought of before, things I know nothing about." "Why is this happening, teacher?" The teacher replied, "Oh, is that so?" and left. The next morning, the teacher arrived with a stick and, striking the young man, said, "I told you I don't like so many people here. You must let them go. Why do you keep bringing them every day? What do you gain by gathering such a crowd? From today onward, they must not come here. Keep that in mind. If I see anyone here after today or hear your chatter, I will immediately expel you from this ashram." Politely, the young man said, "Oh, teacher, I don't understand. I don't see anyone, but you keep saying I've gathered a crowd and must let them go. I keep telling you every day that I don't see anyone, nor do I speak a single word. Yet you say you hear voices." The teacher replied, "Don't your friends, family, relatives, enemies, desires and attachments come to meet you?" The young man said, "No, teacher, no one comes to meet me. I came here alone and I am still alone. I have no one." Angrily, the teacher struck him with the stick again and said, "Sit down now and meditate. If anyone comes during your meditation, tell me." The young man obeyed and sat down to meditate. For a while, he was calm, but then he said to the teacher, "Oh, teacher, my brother has come to meet me along with my father. They are very sad because I left them to come here. My brother doesn't seem well. He's calling me. My elder brother's wife isn't treating him well, and my girlfriend is here too, asking if I'll marry her or if she should marry someone else. She looks very sad, and some of my friends are here too, from whom I borrowed money. They're demanding their money back, calling me a cheat and hurling abuses at me. They've brought some of my enemies along, but my enemies don't want to harm me. They say, 'You're already dead. What's the point of killing you?'" The young man fell silent for a while, but then spoke again. "Oh, teacher, now I have a big house. I've bought it, and my parents, brother and sister-in-law are all living together happily. I'm extremely wealthy now, with immense riches. I've married my girlfriend, and we're celebrating." He fell silent again, but after a while he said, "Oh, teacher, someone is trying to attack me, hitting me continuously. I'm trying to see their face, but I can't. Wait, it's you, teacher, hitting me and saying, 'Why have you brought this crowd? Where are you going with them? You must walk alone.'" With that, the young man came out of meditation, fell at the teacher's feet and said, "Oh, teacher, you were right. You always said I was carrying a crowd with me, and I must let them go. I couldn't see anyone, but today I saw them all. Those I was carrying with me, roaming around with. They're all with me. But I was wondering why I was so restless. What was causing my unease?" The teacher listened to the young man's words carefully and then quietly left. From that day on, the teacher never came to him again, but the young man continued to practice meditation every day. After a month, he went to the teacher and said, "Oh, teacher, as you said, I was always carrying a crowd with me. Today, I have let that crowd go. Now I am completely alone. There's no one with me, not even you, not even myself. I feel profound peace. It feels like there are no problems or solutions in my life anymore. I feel light and wonderful, and the joy in this peace is indescribable." The teacher said, "My son, if you wish, you can return to your world with this aloneness. Even if you go back to that world, surrounded by people or crowds, you will remain alone. Whether it's your relatives, family, friends, enemies, emotions, or your girlfriend, you will be completely alone even in their midst. And when difficult circumstances arise, you will remain calm and alone. You are now fully capable of finding solutions to every situation. If you wish, I can accept you as my disciple." You may think these 30 days are over, but the path of meditation has just begun. There is still much to learn and know, but nothing to hold on to. This path is just starting, and it is a long one, beginning with peace. The young man bowed to the teacher and said, "O teacher, I want to return to my home, to my world, to fulfill my responsibilities while continuing on this path. If you permit me." The teacher smiled and said, "My son, when the mind is calm, everything is possible. You can live in the world and still be alone, but remember, there is much to learn and know, but nothing to hold on to. Now go, and may your well-being be ensured." Friends, let's not dwell too much on this and move on to the next story. The entire human race is caught up in a race that never ends, one that begins at birth and follows us until death. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself what this race is for? Pause and reflect. What are you chasing? And can this race ever truly be completed? The material comforts and pleasures that people spend their lives collecting, can they truly bring peace or joy? Before he died, Alexander the Great told his ministers that when his body is carried in the funeral procession, it should not be covered. His hands should remain open so the world could see that even Alexander, who conquered the world, took nothing with him. His hands remained empty. Yet life's reins are such that we rarely get a moment to pause and reflect on what the greatest joy or sorrow in life truly is. Many people accumulate comforts and wealth, but how many truly enjoy them? The very material possessions gathered for joy and peace often become the cause of sorrow. When there was no money, the lack of it caused pain. And when money was earned, it became a source of conflict, whether for the children or oneself. So what are these comforts and pleasures you're chasing? The story I'm about to share will reveal the greatest sorrow and the greatest joy in life. But before you get lost in this story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. So, let's begin. Recalling his days of poverty, tears welled up in Seth Nanan's eyes. Today, he had achieved everything in life. All comforts were at his disposal, servants, attendants, and thousands working under him, ready at his beck and call. Yet, despite having everything, he felt like the poorest man in the world. Remembering his days of poverty, tears filled his eyes. Back then, he had nothing but was content. Today, with everything, he was not. The poorest person in the world is the one who, despite having everything, feels alone. He began to realize that wealth and material comforts could not fulfill his heart. But it was too late. His entire life had passed. All that he had earned now seemed futile. He felt that everything he had accumulated was in vain. If only he had realized this earlier, he would have paused, reflected, and questioned whether what he was collecting was truly worth it. If he had known this sooner, he would have sought meaning in life, searched for the secret that could fulfill his heart, end his loneliness, and make his life complete. He called his 2 sons to him and tried to impart life's lessons to them. Seth said, "My sons, I had no one to guide me or show me the right path. That's why I kept walking a road that had no end. And when I reached the end, I realized that the distance I had traveled was as vast as the distance still left. Perhaps I took the wrong path, and now there's not enough time to start a new journey." Z told both his sons, "Son, do you know who the most unfortunate person in the world is? It's the one who, despite having everything, feels like they have nothing. The one who feels alone, even with everything." What could be a greater sorrow or misfortune than this? Hearing this, his elder son said, "Father, you have everything, wealth, property, a complete family, all the happiness. Yet why do you consider yourself unfortunate?" The elder son couldn't grasp what his father was trying to explain. Still, the father tried to clarify, saying, "Right now, you feel like you have everything in life. I felt the same way at your age. But now, I've grown old, and death is nearing. I've realized that everything in this world is left behind. House, family, money, wealth, everything stays here. In the end, what will I take with me? Am I not the loneliest person in the world? Am I not the most unfortunate who, despite having everything, can take nothing with me?" The son asked, "Father, then what should one collect in this world? If it's like this, isn't every person alone? Who in this world can take the comforts or family with them? Everyone leaves alone. Doesn't that mean every person is unfortunate?" This same question was stirring in the father's mind, but he had no answer to give his son. So he said, "Son, I'm searching for the answer to this question myself. If a person has everything, but still feels alone and cannot enjoy those material comforts, that is the greatest sorrow. I believe the greatest sorrow in the world is to feel lonely despite having everything. But what could be the greatest happiness in contrast? I don't know the answer to this question either. That's why I want you to find the answer in your life that I couldn't find before I die. Believe me, if you find the answer to this question, you'll be called the happiest person in the world." After narrating this story, the teacher asked his disciples, "What is the greatest happiness in the world?" It was evening, with a gentle breeze making the tree leaves rustle. Birds were chirping in the sky, and the sun was about to set. All the disciples were eagerly listening to their teacher's story, wanting to know the answer to this question. But before they could respond, the teacher posed the question to them. One disciple answered, "Teacher, the happiest person in the world is the one whose body is healthy. If your body is full of diseases, no matter how many material comforts you have, they are useless. On the other hand, if your body is healthy, even if you have nothing, you can still be happy. Therefore, the greatest wealth in the world is our body." Opposing this, another disciple said, "Teacher, there are many people whose bodies are perfectly healthy, yet they are not happy in life. I believe the happiest person is the one whose mind is at peace." The teacher asked this disciple, "Tell me, how can one keep the mind at peace?" The disciple replied, "Teacher, the mind is never satisfied. If we learn to satisfy the mind somehow, we can live in joy and peace in any situation. But the problem is that the mind is never content. No matter how much you feed it, its hunger never ends. No matter how much wealth you give it, its greed only grows." The teacher began explaining to all the disciples, "Due to ignorance, a person never realizes that their mind was always empty. By setting unnecessary worries and futile goals in life, they have bound their mind. The mind, which by nature should remain empty, has been filled with garbage. That's why the mind, which in childhood found joy in every little thing and every game, and could stay peaceful and joyful even alone, now remains unhappy despite having everything. But if a person learns to live only in the present moment, if they awaken just this much awareness to stay in the present, neither in the imaginations of the future nor the memories of the past, they can transform their entire life with this one principle. Living in the present, fully enjoying every subtle comfort with complete awareness and joy, that alone can make life happy. We do everything, every task, every relationship with a half-hearted mind. For example, when we eat, our mind is somewhere else. Our body is somewhere else. When this distance between body and mind arises, it creates stress. If your body, mind, and consciousness learn to be aligned in one place, then you can experience the peace and joy that great yogis attain through penance in the mountains. But for this, the light of knowledge must dawn in life, because in ignorance you can never understand your mind. Understanding the mind is the most difficult task in the world. If you try to forcefully pull your mind to the present, you'll quickly become frustrated. This task must be done slowly, with great sincerity, love, and patience. If you try to force it, you'll fall into stress and give up quickly. So, move forward step by step, and the destination is right ahead. Saying this, the teacher told his disciples, "Now we will meditate." In my own journey, I once believed that happiness lay in achieving things, degrees, relationships, comforts, and praise. But the more I gained, the more I realized a strange emptiness growing inside me. I was surrounded by people, yet I felt alone. I was applauded, yet I felt unseen. It was only when I began to sit silently with myself, without running toward or away from anything, that I discovered a deeper truth. True happiness doesn't arise from having everything, but from needing nothing. When you stop trying to fill the inner void with outer possessions and instead learn to become friends with your own breath, your own silence, you begin to feel whole. That's when I understood. Peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of awareness. And this awareness only comes when we stop searching outside and begin returning inward. So take just 10 minutes a day to be with yourself. No phone, no noise, no expectations. Just breathe, just be. You'll slowly begin to taste the joy that no wealth, no person, no success can offer, the joy of being fully alive. Through meditation, a person's mind and consciousness learn to stay in the present. By practicing meditation daily, one can experience the joy and peace that cannot be found in worldly things or material comforts. After this, all the disciples joined their teacher in meditation. I've met many people in life, wealthy businessmen, famous actors, spiritual seekers, even monks. And one thing became clear: having more does not mean feeling more. You can have a mansion, yet still feel homeless. You can have a family, yet feel unseen. Why? Because the deepest human hunger is not for wealth, but for meaning, not for people, but for presence. We spend our lives trying to accumulate when what we truly seek is connection. Connection with ourselves, with others, and with the present moment. So don't just chase a full life, learn to live a deep life, because only depth can dissolve loneliness, even in silence. Only presence can give peace, even in pain. One of the hardest lessons I've learned is that not everything we carry is ours to keep. We carry guilt from the past, expectations from others, fears from the future, and this burden makes life heavy, even when it looks beautiful from the outside. True happiness arises not from controlling life, but from releasing it, moment by moment. Let go of needing life to be perfect. Let go of needing others to understand you. Let go of needing to always be strong. Instead, allow yourself to be real. There is great power in surrender, great wisdom in softness. As the river flows by, letting go of its shape, you too will flow when you stop resisting what is. In childhood, we had very little, but we laughed easily, played freely, and cried without shame. Why? Because we lived here, in the now. But as we grew older, we stopped living. We started surviving. We began to worry about tomorrow, regret yesterday, and ignore today. But understand this: the present moment is not just a small part of life, it is life. The future is a dream, the past is memory, but this breath, this heartbeat, this moment, it is real. If you miss this, you miss everything. So train your mind gently, lovingly to come back home. The greatest temple is the temple of now. Sit inside it and you'll find the peace you've been searching for all your life. Friends, I hope this story brings positive changes to your life. Please share in the comments what you learned from this video. Share this story with your family, friends, or loved ones to introduce them to this knowledge. If you genuinely liked this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, make sure to subscribe. May your every day be auspicious, and may your life be filled with happiness. Thank you.